What the heck is a Klounkee? Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm here with Jrod and his Dudeness. April was an eventful month for us at Outmaneuver on a personal level, which includes new employment and school transitions. These changes have impacted our schedule, which has affected us from releasing any new content. With Carbon resuming his schooling, he has decided to step away at this time from his active role with Outmaneuver. He has played an important role in our content, and he is missed. As for the three of us, we plan to continue at this time with our weekly podcast, as well as additional content when time allows. Thank you, everyone, for your understanding and support. We have a lot to cover from our time away, so let's start with what we know about Set 2.
The first thing we know is the set is going to be a banger. All these cards previewed so far have been really cool. I love all the Bad Batch stuff. I love all the Mandalorian stuff. I love most of the aggression cards, most importantly. All these aggression cards are speaking to me, and that's making me a happy boy.
Yeah, I think they really took really Dudeness approach to spoiling cards because they chose a lot of red cards or aggression cards. So I think that they were just like, let's like Dudeness had all their aggression cards first.
And they're so good.
They are pretty good. I'm a big fan of a lot of them. There's a lot of interesting things. I think the smuggle mechanic can get really busted. It seems so far that they've really been cautious with like the smuggle cost, which I'm thankful for because that I think can really be it's a massive game changer, right? It's basically just adding cards to your hand. If you think about that, right? Like they're just like it's a resource, but it's still in your hand technically. So it's I can't wait till we get like either a removal spell or a late game bomb for the control decks because like I inherently think that's going to happen at some point with the smuggle mechanic. It's just that is what really draws me is that just card advantage ability with that keyword.
Yeah, I wonder what the highest cost smuggling we're going to see, right? So far, it's just First Light at 7, and that stupid Vigilant Pursuit Craft at 7.
Yeah, I think that's.
So we're talking about the smuggle mechanic. My two favorite cards that we have revealed so far both involve this smuggle mechanic. The one that I think is very interesting is Tech being a 3-cost 2/5 fringe clone, and he gives all your other units smuggle and has smuggle himself. Gives all your other resources smuggle. And I think that's just very interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to playing him and turning cards that normally wouldn't have smuggle into cards that do, which allows me just, as Jrod mentioned, another hand completely. And him having smuggle himself is also really interesting. From initial set so far, I don't see why he couldn't be running any kind of hero deck. Even if you're playing an aggro deck, if you can drop him, all your resources you have now are going to play more cards, and your cards are generally cheap themselves. So I think he's got sky's the limit, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, him also being a 2/5, allowing him to like stick around. Like it's kind of like Jabba in the first set, where like Jabba's like you never kill Jabba. Your opponent always kills their own Jabba by like trading into your stuff like a couple times. And I think he's in a similar boat to that, where his booty's so big for his cost that he'll probably stick on the board for a little bit, so allowing you to actually get some value off of his ability.
My other favorite card that we've got spoiled so far is another one that has the smuggle mechanic, and it was mentioned a little earlier, and that is First Light. And Krennic's my favorite deck, so this is going to go in the deck right away. I love cards with grit in that deck. But then it also gives your other non-leader units grit, making everything just bigger because Krennic wants your guys to be damaged. First Light being a 4/7, again with grit, he's got a big butt to just keep himself alive, to give the grit a lot of damage. But his smuggle cost is interesting. His smuggle cost is the exact same, costs 7 resources, it's vigilance, villainy, but it also has another thing in its cost, and that's dealing 4 damage to a friendly unit. This is just such a cool card. I'm really looking forward to using it. It does seem like you need to have a unit in order to use that smuggle, so that's just something interesting to note. But the thing you do damage will have grit, so it will become stronger. Very interesting card.
Also, it can't do it to itself, though.
When you smuggle it out, you cannot do it to itself. That is correct.
Interesting, okay.
It is interesting. This is the first card with there is an additional cost to smuggle it, but no additional resource cost. And I wonder how many of those cards we're going to see.
I'm curious to see. I'm guessing it's probably 1, but how many legendary cards have smuggle on it? Because I imagine that one's going to be pretty good. Do we know which one? Actually, I really like the Hotshot DL44, who also has smuggle, but it's a red. It's an aggression card that has cunning as a cost to smuggle it, so it forces you to play 2 colors. It's very interesting. I imagine that means
Or you
that
just play it in your yellow deck and only plan to smuggle it out.
Or you
Oh,
just pay
seriously.
the additional cost. Even in mono red deck, I think that if you're already smuggling it, and so it's like, well, you're using it if you have that resources, I think it can also be there.
Yeah, that's fair.
The card itself is like a pseudo fleet lieutenant if you smuggle it out, that you get to keep the +2 buff permanently.
And also, it's something that you can, like, the 2 damage, it lets you attack right away, so it can help you just win the game. So who cares if you're paying 5, you just win the game.
It's fair too.
Yeah, but like also turn 1 you play a unit, turn 2 you just smuggle this bad boy out, and like you're just off to the races. I don't know if that's going to be any good, but it certainly makes me feel things.
I mean, that's going to be tough with the Power of the Dark Sides running around, and we haven't really seen too much good removal other than one card that I'll mention a little bit later. That I think really changes the removal suite too much yet. But I'm sure they're holding some of the better removal for a little later into the cycle of spoiler season.
What other cards have tickled your guys' fancy that we've gotten?
There's quite a few actually.
Pick 2.
Very first one that was just released earlier today, my boy Wrecker, with the subtitle "Boom, Baby." This guy he seems really sweet to me. 6 cost, red hero, 7/6 fringe clone with overwhelm, and when played, you may defeat a friendly resource, and if you do, deal 5 damage to a ground unit. So right off the bat, this feels like an actual rare draft bomb, which
Yep.
set 1 didn't have a lot of. There weren't a lot of quote unquote bombs at the rare slot. And already so far, there's been a couple cards at that rare slot that feel bomby to me. I don't know. Just makes drafting rares feel better because a lot of the rares don't feel good to draft. But killing off a ground unit and then having a 7/6 overwhelm to just keep killing off their units and keep pushing damage to the base. This dude's gonna be great. I'm most excited to play him in Red Han. This is the proper 6-drop you want to play if you get exhausted or something. You can't reach the 7 resources.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna wreck their board, have a 7/6 out, and a Han Solo. Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, is he the highest attack in the game right now for a ground unit? I think, right?
But you've got like ATST stuff.
Isn't it a 6/7 though?
No,
Oh, you mean like the bigger boys? Yeah. You're right.
the suppressor and the Blizzard Assault.
Yeah.
I think Blizzard Assault is a 9/9.
He is
9/9 for 8.
Yeah.
But he's
Okay.
the biggest non-vehicle
Yeah.
unit,
Okay.
if you want to get a little more specific, I think. I believe that is true. Yeah, 7 attack overwhelm actually makes me feel things. I can't wait to play with this card. He seems dope. My second favorite card to be spoiled so far is another red hero rare card,
Oh.
Reeves. This chick is awesome. She's 4 cost, 4/5 Mandalorian Trooper, and on attack, if she is upgraded, you may deal 2 damage to another ground unit. Being able to finish off units in this game in set 1 definitely was at a premium. And this is another one of those where in draft, when this triggers and you're finishing off your opponent's units for free, this is another bomb, straight up. I can't wait to try this in draft, see if I can get one, or at the pre-release or something. It's just an experience where a shield, now she's upgraded. Not to mention all of the other upgrades that are going to be around in the set, because this is a Mandalorian set, and they're all about the upgrades, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking just like set 1 leaders like Luke, loves her, right? He's just like, yep, here's a shield.
Oh yeah, brilliant, right? For 5, you have a 4/5 shielded that on attack is
Deals 2 damage.
and you're incentivized to break the shield at that point,
Mm-hmm.
so that she doesn't get the on attack trigger. Like that's brilliant. Yeah, this card seems really cool. I love both these cards that come out. Like I said, especially the red hero stuff has been speaking to me. That definitely makes me happy.
Both those cards seem really good. I mean, we do this a lot. I feel like with spoiler season is like we see the new card, like, wow, that one's so good. Like, that one's so good. So like,
Ooh,
it's like,
new
you know,
shiny, new
exactly.
exactly. But like I
But hey,
actually do think these cards are going to be good. And like as I've said, actual draft bombs? Question mark.
yeah, I'm still a little questioning on Casca if she'll see Premier play, but like I'm pretty confident Wrecker will, just because of his ability to come in and kill a unit. He's a 2-for-1 automatically, and if he gets to attack once, you're just like probably winning the game. So,
Yeah,
like he seems like, in my opinion, for sure going to be a Premier staple. The other chick, Casca, I think she's well statted for her cost, so I don't think she's terrible. But it's just, to me, it depends on how easily we can get an experience or a shield on her when we play her. So, but moving on to
and
some of go ahead. Nope, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but she is a Mandalorian, which
True.
matters for Bo-Katan.
Hmm.
She is another unit, and with Bo-Katan, which we haven't talked about, but it's the 6-cost red hero leader. If you attack with a Mandalorian, you can tap her to deal a damage. So you could potentially deal 3 damage on that attack to another unit with Bo-Katan. That seems alright to me.
Yeah, she seems. I'm not sold on her yet. I think maybe because she just has Boba Fett stat line and she's 6 cost, so maybe that's just making me not like her. But we'll see. Depends on how good she is.
A lot
Um,
like a Vader, the Vader leader, though. A lot of
that's
similarities
fair.
between the two of them.
Yeah. All right. So my favorite card, name of the episode, wasn't Faith that chose the name of the episode, wasn't me, but McClunky return.
Klounkee.
Yeah, 1 cost, cunning. Return a friendly non-leader underworld unit to its owner's hand. If you do, deal 3 damage to a unit. And it's also an underworld, which is notable, and a trick. The reason why I say underworld is notable because it probably means that we're going to get a card that says, "Look at the top 5 cards," and you may draw an underworld card from that, like we have with Mon Mothma with Rebels, and we have Tarkin with Imperials.
And we have
And
I'm,
This Is the Way.
yep,
this
and
is
this
the
is
way
the
with
way.
Mandalorians, and now even Omega with
Hmm.
clones.
So I'm gonna say that we're likely to get a card that goes with that, and it's a trick, so Jabba can draw it, and like you could play Jabba, return him to your hand, and deal 3 damage for free, and then play Jabba again and look for another McClunky. I just think that card is super good, and it's gonna help Boba Fett and the bounty hunters really suppress some of the aggressive decks pretty efficiently. What do you guys think of McClunky?
I think it's a 10 out of 10 name for a card. Slam dunk, grand slam, pick six, like all the things.
Hmm.
The art also is really fantastic. I love this Greedo just getting shot.
For those that don't watch FFG live streams, you should watch FFG live streams, first of all. But second, this card was spoiled on the FFG live stream, and they asked us to spell it. So props to whoever was able to spell this. That was the condition that they had for showing it to us, because it's not an easy word to spell.
No, the funny thing is though, I think John Leo, one of the designers, was the one that actually like dropped it in chat the very first time.
Do we know the interaction between McClunky and Bosk?
I mean, Boss would still get to trigger, I would imagine.
I would imagine too.
But I guess it's magic in me, so like maybe not,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
the
Yeah, we
cost
don't.
of this is to return it. So you haven't played it yet. You have to return it to pay the cost, and then it gets played. So
So
like
maybe
I
it
could see it
doesn't.
either way. I could see it either
Yeah, I
way.
could
I
kind of
actually
see.
think it doesn't. Yeah, because I think like normally if you were to do something, the effect goes afterwards with Bosk, and so he won't be on the board. I think. Yeah, I don't think it happens.
He is a good card to return back to hand because of the ambush effect and whatnot. So, um,
True.
which
Yeah,
speaking of ambush, we have not seen a single card yet, if I'm not mistaken, with ambush.
I think you're correct.
I'm just
I
quickly
think.
scrolling through.
Yeah. No.
We
Yeah.
have we
I
have the
believe you're correct.
Oh wait,
You
no. Timely intervention
sure.
gives a
gives
card.
ambush.
Yes, but no card specifically has ambush on the card itself, which is interesting.
Like I think that card, since you brought it up, timely intervention, 1 cost command event that lets you play a unit from your hand, give it ambush, or you can smuggle it for 2 and do the same thing. I think this card has the biggest potential to be absolutely busted or
Mhm.
just trash.
I saw a lot of early hype about the card. I think it will not see competitive play. You can come back here in 4 months and comment how wrong I was,
He's playing.
but I don't have hopes for the card.
I
yeah.
honestly think it could go either way because in certain matchups, this feels like it's going to be busted. You don't care about paying the extra 2 to ambush out the dude and just go about your way, get the card advantage. If
I
it
would
gets aggro, maybe it's too slow. I don't know. I haven't tested it out yet. So
Yeah, I would say Boba Fett probably really likes it, because the one cost to him when you ambush and kill something, you just get back. So it's technically free in Boba Fett. You still need the extra resource, of course, to cast it, but like,
and the
and
extra
it
card.
triggers Bosk. I could potentially see it there, but that already has a ton of that stuff, so I wouldn't necessarily stress that too much personally. But
What if they could get away running this instead of ECL, and now you have 5 extra health? If that's relevant, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Like, I don't know if the card's great. Like, obviously ECL was great, right? So like, why wouldn't paying 1 for ambush be good, and having the option to smuggle it as well as like also just a bonus, because if you don't need it, you just smuggle it away, and then when you need it, you pay 2 extra. But like, it is what it is. Anyway, it could go either way. I agree with Faith. Like, it's not a guaranteed home run, but I could definitely see in the correct deck it being still very popular.
Yeah, I think we're definitely just gonna have to see. I think my biggest concern with it is paying extra for units. The great thing about ECL is I'm playing the unit I want on curve, so it's I think going to be very unlikely, especially when you smell it away. It costs 2 more resources still for the spell, so you're paying like let's say 9 for a Count Dooku, who's a great target with ambush for a variety of reasons, but you're paying 9 for him, so that's a little bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in some matchups, like, who cares? You're getting 9 anyways.
Mm-hmm. Well, we still got a lot more cards to cover, though. There was a lot of cards revealed.
There's
I got one more.
Ridiculous amount of cards to reveal. But go ahead, Jrod. You got one?
I got one more, and it's my guy Echo. I think he's not getting as much love because some of the other Bad Batch units are like really good. But 4 cost 4/4 is just solid already. Restore 2, nutty, and then his when played. Like, if you just have a second Echo in your hand, you're just like, I have a 6/6 restore 2. What do you got? Like, or like having record, like, I'm gonna discard his other record. He's now a 9/8. Good luck. Overwhelmed, by the way. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it really incentivizes you playing a lot of unique units, obviously, and I think that once we get into more of these sets, it's going to be harder to not play unique units because they're the named units and they're going to be more powerful because that's just how FFG is going to work it, because they're the most popular characters, because they're the reasons we like the shows or the movies, right? It's like, so we're going to make them good. So
Being
we're going to
unique
have
imparts extra, like, you get a little extra power out of a unique unit versus a non-unique.
Well, he definitely synergizes with Hunter, which we can talk about in just a moment. But what I wanted to say when I thought about Hunter and I thought about Echo here is both of them are not even their peak potential now. We know we're gonna get more cards of the same leader. So we're gonna get another Luke. We're gonna have 2 different Lukes. And the cool thing is that you can, even if you have a smaller Luke, like a 3 or 4 cost Luke we might get in the future, you can discard big 7 cost Luke, and you'll still get the effect because they're the same name, even though they're different cards. So that's when I think these cards will become really good.
I didn't even think about that. Wow, Echo's actually nuts. Okay, confirmed. Echo is nuts. Got it.
And just talking about Hunter, we did get 2 leaders. We talked a little bit about Bo-Katan, who was one of the leaders we've gotten so far. We also got Hunter, and so Hunter has a little bit of interesting effect on his undeployed side. You can pay 1 resource, tap, and you can reveal a resource you control. If it shares the name with a unique unit that you have, you can return that resource to your hand. So it gives you like a draw of that card, and you replace that resource with another one. He's got a similar effect when he attacks. He deploys at turn 7, so he's a later deploy, and he's a 5/8, so pretty big butt, and the strongest attack we have. And he also has Overwhelm, so he's a pretty big unit.
Yeah, I mean, if he rivals, I think, only Vader with his 5 attack, right?
And he's,
so
that's same butt as Vader, too.
Yeah.
And IG-88 also has 5.
Yo, true. We forgot about that boy.
How could we forget about our boy? But, I mean, Hunter, when he was very first revealed, he seemed like the most dookie of dookiest leaders that could ever dookie. And I'm slightly higher than that now. I think maybe he could be slightly better than Dookie. But this guy does not spark joy. Obviously, if you can ramp to him, he's a 5/8 overwhelm, but nothing to sneeze at. And if you were able to draw some cards, like, I mean, it's certainly not bad. It's a good thing. But I question how often that's going to trigger.
We are seeing, I think, a little bit interesting, a little bit of the color pies changing. Like green heroism, we kind of told was the go wide strategy, which just does have a way of going wide. It's a little bit, it's just a little different, I think, than maybe I thought that it worked, and that's good though. Like them tweaking colors or changing the way the aspects interact is a good thing. And like we also see with Bo-Katan, we're seeing which red white is usually more aggro, or at least was in set one, I should say. It was more aggro. She seems a little bit more control-y. And so we're seeing kind of these color combinations expand a little bit, which is interesting to see.
I just want to say that you could Ewing reinforcement into Echo, discard another card in your hand to give whatever other unit like you could Ewing to get Echo and Falcon, and then discard a Falcon in your hand to make Falcon a 5/6.
Yep. Well, that's readied. 5/6 readied.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a build your own Fet's Fire Spray.
That's the thing with Ewing is that's so awesome, is it just all the potentials open up as we get more cards revealed, more interactions.
I think Echo is one of those like sneaky good cards that doesn't initially pop out at you and say, I'm a good card. You know what I mean? But he's like, I think that guy might have something there. And he just happens to have Restore too, for some reason.
I do want to circle back really quickly to we talked about Mandalorians, and I just want to talk about kind of two in particular that really spark interest to me. One of them, we found out that we're not just going to get heroism Mandalorians, we're also going to get some villainy Mandalorians, which we have in Deathwatch Loyalist. It's a very simple card. It's a 3/3 grit with Overwhelm for 3. An interesting thing about it, though, is it has 3 power, which means Grand Inquisitor he's going to be Grand Inquisitor's friend. And the other one with 3 power as well that Grand Inquisitor finds interesting is Clan Challengers, a 5-cost 3/6 Mandalorian with, to date, the largest printed raid cost of raid 3. And if it's upgraded, it gains Overwhelm. I think a very interesting card.
Yeah, definitely a card that at minimum is going to be a bomb in limited. And
I mean,
absolutely has a chance to hit Premier tables as well, just for the fact that hits for 6. You know, that can easily end the game.
And this card really loves aggression and keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that ready up swings for 6.
Yeah, and Grand Inquisitor as well. Like Grand Inquisitor, it's just so crazy with both of them.
And he has 6 health too, so like he doesn't mind taking the damage.
And the Clan Challengers really also likes Ruthlessness, the new upgrade that we got, which is only 1 cost, gives the guy +2/+0, and lets them, when they defeat a unit, deal 2 damage. So this guy with Overwhelm, you're not suffering on hitting their base, and you can also deal an additional 2 damage. Very, like, Ruthlessness loves the Challengers.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
I will say, as a friendly reminder to all of our listeners out there, every time you see a villainy unit that costs 3 or less, immediate thought should be, how does this work with Darth Vader? The Deathwatch Loyalist is not a great pull for Vader. There's multiple other better options, but just as we're going through spoiler season, think about that when we see cheap villainy units as to which ones work best with Mr. Vader, and I expect those to be very playable moving forward.
Well, we talked a lot of cards, and there's still more cards that were spoiled that we didn't talk about. Particularly like Gentle Giant. I'm just going to give a quick shout out. Some potential interesting things with Chewbacca there. But we do have to move on because there's a lot of things to talk about. So coming up next is our store showdowns are coming up very soon. If you're listening to this, you're listening to it after May 4th. So some of you may have had big tournaments or your store showdown itself on May 4th or May 5th. However, there are other people that are going to have more store showdowns coming up in the future. So what do you guys plan on bringing, and where do you guys plan on attending if you have one scheduled?
I've got one coming up tomorrow. This will be on May the 4th. And I plan on bringing Red Leia, otherwise known as Sleia. Got to go fast. it's the deck that I have the most experience with, really. So that's part of why I'm bringing it. Because sometimes you're better off playing a deck that you have more experience with over, something you think might be better, but you're less familiar with the lines of play and what you should do in certain scenarios.
You should always bring a deck that you've played more over
Yeah,
the ones that are quote unquote better.
yeah, exactly. So and then I've put a lot of time into Leia, so that's why I'm bringing it. And like I said, I got to go fast. If people want to bring, if people want to bring slow control decks, I'll definitely bring the fast aggro decks.
Yeah, I have an event tomorrow as well on May the 4th. I was going to go to the Connecticut 1K that many folks around me I know are going to. I had purchased a ticket in advance. However, I do have a commitment for my AAU basketball team that I coach this weekend in the morning, so that I will not be able to travel all the way to Connecticut in time to make the event. So I have a buddy who's going, and we made a deal. I gave him my ticket, and whatever he wins, we split. So that's kind of a cool incentive. And then I will be attending a much more local event at a store, Gaia's Cradle in East Providence. And it should be a nice small scene. And he actually has a box up for first place. So I'm hoping to be able to take that down. Going there, I am probably going to bring Boba Fett. Just because I played it the most. I haven't played with new cunning updates and stuff like that, and haven't really seen much Blue Vader. Haven't really played against that at all. So I am a little out of the loop. I haven't really played in 3 weeks, so I'm like virtually or in person. I haven't even like touched my cards. Like Dudeness, we did a trade, and I had my hyperspace that's fire spray hanging out on my desk with my deck right next to it, and it literally sat on my desk for 2 weeks and didn't go into my deck because I just was so busy. So yeah, but yeah, I hope that I'll be able to take that down with Mr. Boba Fett most likely. I could change to Iden, we'll see, but it's probably Boba Fett.
The Fetsters.
And for me, I also have an event tomorrow, playing for a showcase Boba, so excited about that. If I can get second or third, a Hyperspace Vader, so I'm hoping to get pretty high in that result. I'm bringing my Krennic deck, something that I love to play. I would echo Dudeness and Jrod in the fact that you should play whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have the experience on, that you know the lines. And for me, that's Krennic. I've been playing Krennic for quite a while now, and I've really enjoyed his play style. People always forget about the +1 damage, which always leads to interesting math. So I'm looking forward to that.
I am those people.
What decks do you guys expect to see in your events? What would you say kind of the decks that are going to be at events for people that are going to them in the future? What should they expect?
I would say you're going to see a lot of Sabine, as she's the cheapest deck to build still, and still one of the best. So I would expect to see her. I would expect to see Green Vader decks, whether it's Iden or Krennic or Boba Fett or Vader Green. Like there's multiple different green unit Vader decks, and like those are really the most popular since that's the best card in the game right now. So anything with those is what I'd be really trying to pinpoint against as like the meta stuff.
I think generally you look at the kind of different deck archetypes or play archetypes that you can see: aggro, mid-range, control. Aggro, yeah, you're probably going to see the Sabine. Mid-range, you're going to see Boba. And then control, yeah, I think it's definitely options. Probably I would say Vader first because of the high result. And then I would probably say Palpatine because he's like the late Game Boy. And then finally I'd say Iden. Iden seems to have fallen a tad in popularity lately.
Honestly, I'm not really sure what to expect at the store showdown, right?
It's tough because when you go to the store showdown level, like it's not a bunch of sweaty grinders all the time. Like you'll get some casual folks, so they'll be bringing like, oh, I love Thrawn, I'm gonna play Thrawn. Or hey, I'm gonna bring Hera because I love, you know what I mean? Like you'll have folks like that. So like, if you're bringing a meta deck and you're a reasonable player, most of the time you should be able to beat those players. If you're facing those decks and against casual players and losing, maybe look at how you can improve your game because maybe it's something that you're doing.
Well, though, circling back to what we had talked about earlier, if you have been playing Hera, bring Hera and play.
Yeah.
Do your best. Like obviously, try your best and be mindful. I'd say this is going to be for most people their biggest event they're going to have played in so far. So be mindful of what other people are playing, because then you can help, especially your sideboard in particular. You can tailor that sideboard to your opponents. So if you're bringing a Hera deck, know that you're probably going to verse a lot of Sabines, Bobas, and then some later game control decks. So just have your sideboard ready for it and prep for it. Practice, practice, practice.
And the best thing about bringing something off the wall to a smaller event like this is that, again, people probably haven't played as many games, so probably haven't seen your leader too much, don't have reps against it. So if you've played against the meta stuff and they're playing meta and you're not, and you know how to play the meta matchup with your off-meta deck, then you're going to have a significant advantage against your opponent because they don't know what you can do, but you know what they can do. And that can be sometimes enough to win a match.
Makes sense.
And like, oh, go, sorry, Dudeness.
No, that was it. Just chiming in.
In my tier list that I've got in my head, I probably have like Boba and Sabine near the top. But I would say that like a Leia, a Luke, a Krennic, an Iden, a Vader, a Han. I could see like there's actually just so many leaders that have really good potential to win a tournament. There's not many leaders which I would be shocked to see win a big event. Because one thing I think they've done great in this set one meta is give different play opportunities, different play lines for different play styles. Circling back to the topic of spoilers, what have you guys felt about the speed in which we've gotten spoilers? So Star Wars Limited has one set come out every 4 months. So we didn't really get anything about set 2 for the first month. In April, we've gotten some stuff. And as of the stream on Wednesday, Xander has ushered in set 2 spoiler season and saying it is officially started. So how do we feel about 2 months until set release when a spoiler season officially starts?
It's fine, I guess.
I'm ready for it.
I mean, these cards have me pretty hyped, but I could have also waited longer than they start releasing like huge dumps there at the end.
I still like the trickle. I mean, obviously it allows content creators to make some content on it and that kind of stuff, which is always nice. But also like, I don't want it to be like, I hate Magic kind of does it in a way where it's like nothing, then like the set drops and then like literally pre-release their stuff for the next stuff already. And like the set's spoiled like so far in advance. And I don't want that. Like, I hope that they drag this out to like 2 weeks before or like 3 weeks before like release, where like, you know, we have some time to play with the whole set before it releases, but like not like 2 months or a full month. Like I think 2 weeks is probably a good number for that.
Yeah, so like the set comes out second week in July, so second weekend in July, and so I think we'll either have all the cards spoiled by July 4th, I would guess, and then maybe even by the end of June, we should have all the set 2 cards spoiled. I've actually really liked the pace which they've brought stuff out at. I'm looking at Lorcana, and Lorcana's 3rd set came out around the same time that set 1 came out for Star Wars, and they're coming up now, I think, on within a month until their next set comes out. And so they've already have more spoilers than we do. And it just kind of seems fast. It seems like, wow, I would have barely got to play with the other cards from the last set before I'm already talking about a majority of the new cards. So I felt really good that we had like a full month to play with set 1 stuff without having to really worry about set 2 stuff. I really enjoyed that.
Months, really.
Yeah, really full 2 months.
Like we got like some of them a couple of weeks ago, you know, a handful, but like it wasn't until recently when they started ramping up.
Yeah, it wasn't until the official start of spoiler season, which we doubled the number of spoilers we got from like 21 to something like we're over 40 now.
We're 40 now.
Yeah, super exciting times. I mean, that also goes to show you like why I'm a big fan of the 3 sets a year, because it gives you that extra time between sets to like really enjoy it. Whereas like Lorcana doing 4 sets a year, you really got to kind of squish them together a bit more. So,
yeah, the pacing is just much more reasonable. So much more. It's also good on the wallet, which is just a legitimate factor. As we mentioned before, I'm going to spend the same amount of money, but now I can kind of spend it more intentionally on certain sets, which is just a better feeling. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm just ready to start drafting this set. I'm basically just in a Shadows of the Galaxy draft waiting room at this point.
This set in particular as well, because we're going to double the number of cards we have from the end of this, from set 1 to set 2. Future sets in going forward, they won't, I think, have as big of an impact because they're only like, as the next set, if it's the same size, will only add like an additional, it'll be a third of the total pool, where this is completely doubling it. So it's going to have a lot of impact on our decks. A lot of cards, even as I was looking through the cards, I'm thinking, wow, a lot of my decks are going to change because there's just better, more particular options for each deck.
Yeah, I mean, I say this like with every new set of this game, but like really, it's truly like until we get to set 4, all these first 3 sets, you won't have an experience like this again in the game. Like set 1, you'll never have a set 1 experience again because there'll always be rotations and all that stuff. Set 2 obviously is going to add double the pool, but in the future you'll never have just 2 sets where you can play like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then set 3 is like the first time you get like a glimpse into like what full premiere is, depending on if they do 3 or 6 sets in the full rotation at some point, right? So like until we know what their rotation schedule is, we won't know what an official like block or set or whatever they want to call them is. But I'm really interested to see how they handle that and how they like how interesting it's going to be once we get to like set 3 and set 4. You know, because that's like even for Twin Suns, right? Move to 80 card decks, and we'll actually be able to build, you know, Twin Sun decks. You know what I mean? Like that's what my favorite thing about all these leaders coming out is like Twin Suns has so many options.
I think that Twin Suns comment is very interesting, and I do look forward to what we have in store. To actually make an actual deck, because now in Twin Suns it's pretty standard. It's most of the cards from the color combination.
There's definitely some deck building choices to be had, but for the most part, they are relatively the same. But that being said, I'll still see some people playing like Mission Briefing and still just like bad cards. And it's like, no, you don't have to play bad cards.
Yeah. You should play good cards. Let's be very clear. If you're playing Twin Suns and you're not playing all the legendary aspects that are in your aspect options, you should be doing so. I've been saying that for a while. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to continue to say that because it's even moving over to Premier now with Cunning and Vigilance already being indexed for 6. Like those cards are still reasonable at 6. If you don't need them, you just resource them. The best thing about this game, put them in your Twin Suns decks. This is a PSA by Jrod. Thank you.
Well, let us know in the comments what your favorite card spoiled so far in set 2 is. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Outmaneuver.